Hello. Car video time. Marv and I have been doing a lot of office videos. I will let you know that our SP coaching program, we've been running basically like an early bird special where if you want to do group coaching with us, weekly group coaching, we have a very discounted rate. You can contact us about that. That rate's about to end. We're never going to be offering what we're offering at this price again, this group coaching price, within the next, I don't know, week or two. That's it, because it's way too low. So if you're at all serious about getting help with relationship issues you have, or quite frankly, if you just want to be in a supportive group that talks about these manifesting concepts in a mature, helpful way, let us know, because like I said, the rate that we're currently offering for the weekly group coaching is far too low, and we're about to end it. Today I just, because there are some new subscribers and new viewers to this channel. Sorry, the light got bad in the car. I just want to I want to talk about Neville Goddard real briefly, or rather the scene around Neville. What a lot of people who probably find this channel don't understand about where I'm coming from with Neville is that I've been into his ideas for a long time, over 10 years, and I've tried my best to integrate them into my life. I've written about them. I've worked with people in regards to them, and I've made a book series editing some of Neville's best works, in my opinion, into digestible books. I've made many podcast episodes about Neville's teachings. We have a playlist. I'll put a link above to the playlist. You can also just find it on this channel. We have a playlist of Neville videos. There's over 100 Neville, themed videos. Sorry, the lighting is not great. Over 100 Neville themed videos that you can watch or listen to on this channel. And I say all that because what's probably not clear to a lot of you who are new here, and hopefully will become clear to some of you, is that the way that I talk about Neville and the teachings that he, espoused is very, very, very different than most other people on YouTube. In the sense that I have my own unique take. I came to his teachings well after I was interested in spirituality or mysticism. I'm not like a business person. I'm not a big this is good, how you change your life, ABC, very, structural, like it's logical science. I'm not like that. I'm much more of mystical artist, lazy type of sensibility, like to just kind of vibe out. And so the way I talk about Neville is just, it's almost, I don't want to say completely different, but vastly different from what you usually are going to see on YouTube. And most of you watching this that are new here probably don't fully recognize the degree that it is different. And that's one reason I would encourage you to, go through that Neville playlist that we have. And especially the older podcast episodes where I talk about Neville and link him with some of the other great manifesting teachers and some of the other non-dual teachers that are wonderful. Because, to be blunt, what I have to share with you in regards to what he's talking about is it's just better. It's more intelligent and more comprehensible than what most of this crap on YouTube. I have a unique angle in a way, you could say, and it's a somewhat mature angle. You don't have to agree with everything I'm saying whatsoever. You can think that 90% of what I say is bullshit. But it's my own angle. It's mine. I'm not parroting Neville or other channels or whatever. And there really are not that many creators on YouTube doing that in regards to Neville's work. And I say it all the time, but you're making a huge mistake if you're into Neville, if you just recently gotten into Neville or have been into him for like a year, to be getting advice from YouTubers in regards to what he's talking about. Because, again, just to be frank, these people give terrible effing explanations of his stuff, usually. I just say this soberly. Most people don't get this guy at all. They don't get his sensibility. They don't understand it in regards to the people who commenting on it. That's what's a shame. A lot of you, see, before I ever got into the online scene in regards to Neville, because my first 5-6 years into Neville stuff, I pretty much kept to myself and just conversed with people via email or, spoke to them on the phone or whatever if they were interested in his stuff. So those were, I know that there are a lot of people out there into Neville that never go onto social media to find out about his stuff. And what I'm telling you is that is generally speaking the way to go about finding out and integrating his teachings. Or to be incredibly selective when you go onto a social media platform like YouTube to find out about Neville, let alone Reddit. I mean, just let me, again, be blunt. Don't go on fucking Reddit to find out about Neville Goddard. Don't. As someone who briefly moderated there and is very, very familiar with the platform, it is one of the worst things you can probably do to start integrating these ideas. And if you're like, what the hell is Tim talking about? Again, just look at my playlist, look at some of the videos where I talk about the Neville community, the Reddit community. Most of you probably don't get what the hell I'm talking about now, except for people who are already very familiar with my stuff, but whatever, it doesn't matter. I really can't emphasize enough that Neville's sensibility seemed like a really good sensibility. And the guy was an artist, He was in the theater. He was a mystic. And most people miss that. Most people, frankly, watching Neville videos on YouTube, they don't even read Neville. So let's read some Neville. One thing that Marvin and I have been talking about a lot, because, Marvin and I both like to say how things usually are not going to manifest overnight or manifest in a few days, like so many of these clickbaity channels say they will. But an issue is that Neville did basically say that things would manifest within 3 days. And so that's part of the reason for that contradiction. This is from 5 Lessons, which is, again, I've made a mini course about 5 Lessons. I'll put a link above to that as well. 5 Lessons is basically the place to start and perhaps end for most of you in regards to Neville's advice. So I just want to clarify this point. Is the one reason that it gets so muddled. He says that, Neville says, you ask, what is action? Our physicists tell us that it is energy multiplied by time. We become more confused and say, energy multiplied by time, what does that mean? They answer, there is no response to a stimulus, no matter how intense the stimulus, unless it endures for a certain length of time. There must be a minimum endurance to the stimulus or there is no response. On the other hand, there is no response to time unless there is a minimum degree of intensity. Today, the most fundamental thing in the world is called action, or simply energy multiplied by time. The Bible gives it as 3 days. The duration is 3 days for response in this world. If I would now assume I am what I want to be, and if I am faithful to it and walk as though I were, the very longest stretch given for its realization is 3 days. If there is something tonight that you really want in this world, then experience in imagination what you would experience in the flesh were you to realize your goal and deafen your ears and blind your eyes to all that denies the reality of your assumption. If you do this, you would be able to tell me before I leave the city of Los Angeles that you have realized what was only a wish when you came here. This is because Neville was lecturing in Los Angeles for, a brief period of time and then going back to where he lived. He continues, "It will be my joy to rejoice with you in the knowledge that the child which was seemingly dead is now alive. This damsel really was not dead, she was only asleep. You fed her in this silence because you have meat no one else knows of. You gave her food and she became a resurrected living reality within your world. Then you can share your joy with me and I can rejoice in your joy. The purpose of these lessons is to remind you of the law of your own being, the law of consciousness. You are that law. You were only unconscious of its operation. You fed and kept alive the things you did not wish to express within this world. Take my challenge and put this philosophy to the test. If it does not work, you should not use it as a comforter. If it is not true, you must completely discard it. I know it is true. You will not know it until you try either to prove or disprove it." So that's that quote, relatively famous quote, where Neville talks about 3 days. He talks about it in other places too. But he says a lot there. It's very loaded. And I think the way it's interpreted is very dogmatic as opposed to the nuanced way that I think it should be interpreted. But that explains a lot right there. So I just want everybody to chew on that. And I think next video I'll make talking about, reading again from 5 Lessons and Neville talking about inducing a high state and holding it. And why, even though it can happen within 3 days, doesn't mean it will happen within 3 days. And how, frankly, it will not happen in 3 days for most of you. My 2-year-old is outside. Time to go.